Our presentation will be on the Red Mountain Columbia Valley AVA. It's a vineyard AVA located in Washington State. So a little bit more in depth about the location. It's located entirely within the Yakima Valley AVA, and it itself is part of the larger Columbia Valley wine region. And the Red Mountain AVA covers 4,040 acres of land and is the easternmost AVA in Yakima Valley, occupying the land within a curve of the Yakima River just before it joins the Columbia River near the town of Richland, Washington, which is located in the Tri-Cities. The Red Mountain AVA is located on a southwest-facing slope in south-central Washington, and it's the smallest and warmest wine grape growing region in Washington State, producing much of its wine. So here's a diagram of Washington State, and the red square shows where the AVA location is. And you can see that it's in the Tri-Cities, right in the Columbia Basin. You can see Yakima off to the left of it. And on the right side, we can see a general picture of some of the vineyards in the area. They're very large, and this actually came from a Woodinville Wine Country website. So a lot of the vineyards in the area supply many of the Woodinville wineries, which is a city in Washington that has much of the wineries in the state. So Red Mountain produces some of Washington's most prestigious wines, most of these being very big, bold reds, including Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, and Merlot. And the primary grape varieties planted include Cab, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Syrah, Sangiovese, Malbec, and Petit Verdot. And Red Mountain encompasses 2,341 vineyard acres. So the most widely planted varieties in Red Mountain are mostly Cab, Merlot, Syrah, Malbec, and Cabernet Franc. But in total, there are 32 different varietals planted there. Here are some different charts that represent the percentages of varietals planted in Red Mountain. And looking at these, you can really see how dominant Cabernet Sauvignon is in the area. 53.72% of the varietals planted are Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's 1,249 acres. And compared to just the second most planted is only 10%. So Cab is definitely the dominant one, and it basically Merlot and Syrah are kind of at the same level, and then it drops off to Malbec, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. The financial impact of Red Mountain AVA is very large. So the grapes from this area are in very high demand, and vineyards with notable reputations can receive as much as 30% above the market price for their crops. The reputation of Red Mountain AVA has helped foster an era of growth for the appellation, and wine production, wholesale markup, retail markup, restaurant markup, and tourism all help increase the overall wine revenue. And Red Mountain attracts roughly 27,500 visitors in 2014. So the area's rising prominence among wine enthusiasts makes it a destination for many out-of-state tourists, and as many as 1/3 of the visitors to Red Mountain wineries come from outside Washington. So a lot of this tourism brings in a lot of money for the area. The soil and weather influences in the area are great. So the soil types are created by wind-blown silt and sand over glacier outflow. There's very deep roots in the area, and this is due to high alkalinity and calcium carbonate content and granular consistency. There's prolonged sunlight exposure and warmth on the southwest slope, and that creates a real ripeness in tannins. There's warm airflow, which keeps grape clusters small and flavors concentrated. There's also low amounts of mold and mildew pressure in the area, and this continual air movement helps prevent frost from damaging the grapes in the wintertime. The history of the region began 10,000 years ago when the small geographic region that comprises the Red Mountain AVA was formed by the repeated ice age flooding of glacial Lake Missoula. Basically, this then sizable Lake Missoula in Montana burst through its glacial dam, causing the flooding. The floodwaters redesigned the landscape, configuring the soft mountain slopes and depositing nutrient-rich topsoil over sand, silt, and gravel. And the water flow around the mountain led to an uneven deposition of soils throughout the AVA. The first wine pioneers, John Williams and Jim Holmes, initially walked this land in the summer of 1972, and back then they found a gently sloping sagebrush-covered hillside that had been largely overlooked by both early settlers and local indigenous people. There were no roads, wells, power lines, or any other signs of civilization. Williams and Holmes had been greatly influenced by the wine grape research conducted by Dr. Walter Clore and his staff at the WSU Agricultural Station in Prosser. 3 years later, in 1975, after obtaining power, water, and right-of-way of the property, they planted the first 10 acres of vineyard on Red Mountain. And then the first Red Mountain winery was bonded in 1980, and AVA status was achieved in 2001. Red Mountain now hosts approximately 54 vineyards covering more than 2,300 acres, making Red Mountain one of the most densely planted AVAs, with 57% of the AVAs currently planted. Some interesting facts about the region is that there's 55 total vineyards in Red Mountain, there's 9 wineries, and 10 tasting rooms. The very dry soils there limit vigor and yield, and Red Mountain grapes can be up to 60% smaller than those of other Columbia Valley AVAs. This results in very powerful tannic red wines with concentrated fruit flavors. The price per ton is about 3 times the state average. The average yield is 3.2 tons per acre. There's 2 hours or more per day of sunlight during the growing season. Then Napa Valley, so they have 2 hours more. And there's 4,040 acres, the smallest Washington AVA.